introduce to you Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Hey, Anita, yeah, it's a very big turnout. The crowd is so energized and very excited to be here. They were so loud when she walked out on stage just a couple of minutes ago. There are hundreds of people here to support Warren. We got here around 2:45 this afternoon, and doors didn't open until 4 o'clock, but there was a line around the building once they finally did open. Now, we've seen a lot of people here from the organization Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We also spoke with people in line. Some of them, they say they're set on Warren as their candidate. Others say they came here because they want to learn more about her platform and to see if this is the candidate for them. Now, she is gaining momentum. She recently passed former Vice President Joe Biden in some national polls as a front runner, and she's, of course, hoping to pick up more support right now here in Hampton Roads. We're going to have full coverage of this town hall tonight, so be sure to watch WAVY News at 10 and 11 for the latest. Live from the ODU campus in Norfolk, Gina Arevalo, 10 on your side.
So, what we do tonight is I'll tell you a little bit about myself. We'll take some questions, and then if anybody wants to, I'll stay as long as you want.
as the boys, to distinguish them from the surprise. They've all retired. They all live back in Oklahoma, close together. When we were growing up, our daddy had a lot of different jobs. He sold fencing, he sold carpets, he sold housewares, he sold paint. And when I was in middle school, the boys were all gone by that point, and it was just my mama and my daddy and me. And my daddy had a massive heart attack. And for a long time, we thought he was going to die. The neighbors came in, the folks from church brought covered dishes, everybody spoke in quiet tones. Daddy made it through, and we were deeply grateful. But he couldn't work, not for a long, long time. And that meant no money coming in. I can still remember the day we lost our family station wagon. I remember learning words like mortgage and foreclosure. I remember how every night my mother would tuck me in, she'd kiss me on the forehead, she'd pat me, and I knew what was coming next. She'd walk outside, close my door, and lean back against it and start to cry. She wouldn't cry in front of me. And one day I walked into my folks' bedroom, and laid out on the bed was the dress. Now, some of you in this audience will know the dress. It's the one that only comes out for weddings, funerals, and graduations. And it's laid out on the bed, and I see it, and I look at the end of the bed, and there's my mama in her slip and her stocking feet, and she's pacing. And she's saying, "We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house." She was 50 years old. She had never worked outside the home, and she was terrified. And finally, she sees me standing there in the doorway. I'm just a kid. And she looks at me, and she looks at that dress, and she looks at me, never says a word, wipes her face, pulls that dress on, puts on her high heels, and walks to the Sears and gets a full-time minimum wage job answering phones. That minimum wage job saved our house, and more importantly, it saved our family. Now, I always think of this as the lesson my mama taught me, that no matter how scared you are, no matter how hard it looks, when it comes down to it, you reach down deep, you find what you have to find, you pull it up, and you take care of the people you love. That's what she taught me. It was years later that I came to understand that wasn't just what my mama taught me. That's what millions of Americans do every day. No matter how hard it looks, no matter how scared they are, they reach down deep, they find what they have to find, they pull it up, and they take care of themselves and the people they love. That's what we do. But it was only years after that that I came to understand that same story is also a story about government. It's also a story about government, because understand this. Back when I was a girl, a full-time minimum wage job in America would support a family of 3. it would pay a mortgage, it would cover the utilities, and it would put food on the table. Today, a full-time minimum wage job in America will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty. That is wrong, and that is why I am in this fight. And understand this, that difference is no accident. It's about who government works for. When I was a girl, go back and look, the question asked about minimum wage is, what does it take a family of 3 to survive? What does it take a family of 3 to get a foothold in America's middle class? What does it take a family of 3 to have something secure that they can build on? Today, the question asked in Washington is, where should the minimum wage be set to maximize the profits of giant multinational corporations? Well, I don't want a government that works for giant multinational corporations. I want one that works for our families. So, like I said, the 3 boys, they went off to the military. That was their path. That was their ticket to America's middle class. Me, I had a different plan. I have known what I wanted to be since 2nd grade. You may laugh back there. You didn't decide until what, like 4th grade? 5th grade, I can tell. No, me, I have known what I wanted to be since 2nd grade, and I've never wavered from it. I wanted to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for America's public school teachers? Whoa! Yes, this is what I wanted. Oh, I wanted to teach public school. I gotta tell you, and I invested early. I used to line up my dollies and teach school. I had a reputation for being tough but fair. It's all I wanted. By the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have the money for an application to college, much less to send me off to 4 years at a university. So here's the deal. Like a lot of Americans, I have a story that's not exactly a straight line. It's got a lot of twists and turns. So here's how mine goes. I graduated from high school, and I got a scholarship to college. Yay! And then, at 19, I fell in love, got married, and dropped out of school and got a minimum wage job. Not to that guy. To somebody who is currently referred to as husband number 1. Never a good sign when you have to number your husbands. It's true. But back in the story. So, here I am. Look, I chose it. It's going to be a good life. It was my decision. Nobody made me do this. But I thought I'd given up the dream, that was it. I'd stepped off and I would never get to be a teacher. And then I found it. We're living down in Houston at the time, and I found what was then a commuter college. It was about 45 minutes away, and it cost $50 a semester. And for a price I could pay for on a part-time waitressing job, I finished my 4-year diploma. I became a special needs teacher. I've lived my dream job. Yeah. So, let's see, we've got public school teachers in here? Yes. Yes, we got any special needs teachers in here, a few? Yeah, good. Okay, you're gonna have to back me up on this. This is not a job for teachers. It's a calling. I love the work. I love those babies. I had 4 to 6-year-olds, mostly, and to this day, I can remember faces, names. I can remember successes. I can remember places we didn't get it done. I loved it. And I probably would still be doing that work today, but my story has another twist in it. And here's the twist. By the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. And the principal did what principals did in those days. He wished me luck and hired someone else for the job. Yep. So there I am. I'm at home. I can't get a job. I got a baby. What am I going to do? I got to do something, right? I got to do something. So I decide I'll go to law school. Yeah. Whoopee. So, baby on hip. By this time we're living in New Jersey. I head off to we got everybody here. I head off to a public law school. Back then, cost $450 a semester, woohoo. And graduate visibly pregnant. You will discover a pattern to these stories. Took the bar and practiced law for 45 minutes. And then went back to my first love, teaching. I traded little folks for much taller folks, but always in teaching. Oh, and also traded out husbands, and that's how I ended up with Bruce. So, okay. A lot of change in that period of my life. But that's how I've spent most all my life, is teaching in law school. So, you know, I don't know, maybe this is what happens to everybody who kind of grows up on the ragged edge of the middle class. But I'll tell you what I taught: money. If it was about money, I mastered it and I taught it. So I taught contract law and commercial law. I taught secured transactions. Feel free to cheer at any point. I taught the Uniform Commercial Code, woohoo! All the good points, law and economics, corporate finance, partnership finance. I taught it all. But there was always one central question that I worked on, and that is, why is America's middle class being hollowed out? Why is it that for families that work every bit as hard as my mom and dad did 2 generations ago, find the path today so much rockier and so much steeper? And for people of color, even rockier and even steeper. Yep. And the answer is just like the answer around minimum wage. The answer is about who government works for. Think of it this way. We have a government that works fabulously, wonderfully, terrifically for giant drug companies. Just not for people trying to get a prescription filled. Am I right? Works great for people who want to invest in private prisons and private detention centers. Just not for the people whose lives are torn apart by those institutions. Yep. A government that works terrifically for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere, just not for the rest of us who see climate change bearing down upon us. And here's the thing. When you see a government that works great for the wealthy and the well-connected and isn't working for much of anyone else, that is corruption pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. corruption. Yeah. Corruption. And think of it this way. Whatever issue brought you here today, climate, healthcare, the cost of prescription drugs, gun violence, whatever it is, I will do them all, immigration, you bet. Whatever is the issue that brought you here today, if there is a decision to be made in Washington, it has been touched by money. It has been influenced by money. It has been nudged by money. It's had an exception created by money. In fact, let me tell you a quick story around this. So back in the early 1990s, we're beginning to get it about what's happening on climate. Don't have quite all the words, they're calling it global warming at that point, but they're getting it. The science is there. And people are starting to say, wow, this is a real catastrophe that could be headed our way. Here's the amazing part. Democrats and Republicans basically are working together. Think about that. They're talking about, so what do we need to do? Do we need to give more power to the EPA? Do we need some new laws? Because all of us have to care about the future of this country and the future of this earth. And then, along come the Koch brothers. I see you've heard of the Koch brothers. Nice, nice. Along come the Koch brothers. Oh, and let's be clear. And the giant oil companies and the big polluters. And in effect, they get together and say, wow, if Congress gets really serious about this climate thing, that's going to cut into our bottom line. That's going to cost us money. So they've got a decision to make. They've got an investment decision to make. Think about it that way. So they have to decide. Now, they could have decided. They could decide, let's see, we see this happening. What we're going to do is we're going to stop doing carbon-based fuels. We're just going to pull ourselves out of that, and we're going to go into green. No, they don't do that. They could decide, we're going to really double down on investment, R&D investment in how to clean carbon out of the air, how to clean it out of the water. They don't do that. You know what they invest in? Politicians. They invest in politicians. They invest in Washington. And yeah, it's campaign contributions, but it is so much more. It's about lobbyists. It's about PR firms. It's about bought and paid for experts. You ever think about those bought and paid for experts, these guys, the climate deniers, right, who come in and say, I'm a doctor of something, and climate, blah, 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 the dinosaurs loved it, good days for South, whatever it is. They don't support those guys and put money into the think tanks for them because they're fooled. They do it because those guys, those climate deniers, they build an umbrella over the politicians. So the politicians can stand under it and continue to take Koch brother money, big oil money, big polluter money, and say, oh, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Well, let me tell you, you want to understand the climate crisis that we face right now? It is 25 years of corruption in Washington that brought us here. So here's the thing. The corruption is felt everywhere. If we are going to make change in this country, it can't be one statute over here, a couple of little regulations over there, maybe one more piece over here. What we've got to have in this country is big structural change. There it is. Not little. And let me tell you where big structural change starts. It starts by attacking corruption head on. You ready? And I got a plan fun for that. In fact, here's the good news. I have the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. Yay! Here's the bad news. We need the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. Okay, so this thing is big because money is felt in lots of places around Washington. So let me just give you a little sample out of this plan. Here's part of it. End lobbying as we know it. Here's another. Block the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington. Yep. Here's one you might not have thought about, but it matters. Make the United States Supreme Court follow basic rules of ethics on conflicts of interest. I could do these all night long, but let me do just one more, and that is anyone who wants to run for federal office, underline anyone, has to put their tax returns online. Okay, so that's part one. Attack the corruption head on. Now think of it. Because if you disrupt it, if you disrupt the influence of money, if you knock it back, if you get off your back foot and onto your front foot, so much more is now possible. Okay, so let's talk about what we can do. And that is, part one, attack the corruption. Part two, we need some basic structural change in this economy. Yep, and let me tell you how this starts. We got a huge problem with these giant corporations that have swallowed up little businesses, medium-sized businesses. Shoot, they've swallowed up what used to be big businesses. And the problem is they are so big. They run over their own employees. They run over their customers. They run over the communities where they are. Shoot, they call the tune in Washington. That's how much power they have. So, what do we do about that? Well, part one, I say it's time to break them up. Let's enforce the antitrust laws. I'm there. Big tech, yes, Mark Zuckerberg, I'm looking at you. And big ag, I mean, we can just keep doing this. But the point is, we got to start by having the courage to enforce our antitrust laws. We got to give little businesses a chance. That's a key part of it, but here's the other part. I think of this in structural terms, and that means we got to have some balance in the system. We can't have all the power in the corporations. We need more power in the hands of workers, make it easier to join a union, and give unions more power when they negotiate. Yep. Unions built America's middle class. Unions will rebuild America's middle class. We do this. So that's how we make structural change. Let me give you one more idea for making structural change. It's time for a wealth tax. And Mark Zuckerberg, I'm still looking at you. All right, so here's the idea behind the wealth tax. Just so everybody gets this. Your first $50 million is free and clear. I see people saying, oh, you're in, you're good, okay. Yeah, people say, okay, I can do business with this woman. She's reasonable, okay. First $50 million free and clear. But your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And 2 cents on every dollar after that. And just so everybody understands about a wealth tax, anybody in here own a home? Or grow up in a family that owned a home? Yeah, you've been paying a wealth tax. They just call it a property tax. All I'm doing different is for the guys who are really rich is to say your property tax is not just your real estate, it's also your stock portfolio, the diamonds, the Rembrandt, and the yachts. And here's the thing. I want us to do this. I want you to think about this for a minute. I'm not pushing a wealth tax because I'm cranky. Or punitive, or mean. Oh, poor billionaires. It's none of that. People who've built great fortunes and understand that 50 million threshold on assets, that is the top 1/10 of 1%. It's about 70,000 families in this country. That's all we're talking about, 1/10 of 1%. You built a great fortune in America, and they say, well, I got out there, I worked hard, I stayed up late at night, unlike anybody else, but okay, you had a great idea, you caught the moment, good for you, good for you. But if you built a great fortune here in America, I guarantee you built it at least in part using workers all of us help pay to educate. You built it at least in part getting your goods to market on roads and bridges all of us help pay to build. You built it at least in part protected by police and firefighters, all of us help pay the salaries for. And here's the thing, we're happy to do it. We're Americans. We believe in making these investments. All we're saying is fair. When you make it big, I mean really big. I mean top 1/10 of 1% big. Pitch in 2 cents so everybody else in this country gets a chance to make it. Yes! 2 cents. 2 cents. Oh, and here comes the fun part. What can we do for 2 cents? Woo! Okay, you ready? First thing we can do is universal child care for every baby in this country age 0 to 5. All of them. Universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America. And enough of the exploitation of largely black and brown women raise the wages of every child care worker and preschool teacher in America. Yep. 2 cents. We can do all of that, and I'm not through yet. All of that, and we can provide tuition-free technical school, 2-year college, and 4-year college for anyone who wants to get an education. We can expand our Pell Grants so that low-income students have a real chance to get an education. And we can help level the playing field by putting $50 billion directly into historically black colleges and universities. Yep. We can do all 2 cents. We can do all of that, plus we can cancel student loan debt for 95% of the... Yeah, you ready? We do this. 2 cents. 2 cents. That's what we can do for 2 cents. And just for a minute, let's start with 2. Let's start with 2, but 2 cents. And we can make an investment in an entire generation. All right, so that's part 2, structural change, just a couple of structural pieces in this economy. Part 3, we need to protect our democracy. I want to see a constitutional amendment that guarantees the rights of every American citizen to vote and to get that vote counted. And here's one we can do through federal law. Let's outlaw political gerrymandering once and for all. Let's roll back every racist voter suppression law in this country. And just one more. Overturn Citizens United. Democracy is not for sale. So there it is. I just want 3 things. Attack the corruption head on, make a couple of structural changes in our economy, and protect our democracy. 3 things. And here's the thing. Those 3 things, to me, are all related to the same question. Who gets opportunity in this country? Who gets a chance to build a future? Who has that opportunity? You know, you're born into wealth and privilege, you'll have plenty of opportunities, but not so much for everyone else. Those 3, and we make this a country of opportunity for everyone. So understand this. For me, this is the heart of it. Opportunity for every single one of our children to get a first-rate education. There it is. Opportunity. Opportunity to get a good job, opportunity to be able to start your own business, opportunity. Opportunity. Remember, I'm a special needs teacher. Opportunity may mean opportunity to live independently. Opportunity. Opportunity to love who you love and build the family you want to build. Opportunity. It is the best of what America can be. My daddy, he ended up as a janitor, but his baby daughter, she got the opportunity. The opportunity to be a public school teacher, the opportunity to be a college professor, the opportunity to be a United States Senator, and the opportunity to be a candidate for President of the United States of America. Dream big, fight hard, let's win! let's do some Q&A. All right, we've got some. Where are our people with our microphones? Behind me. Here we go, fabulous. We got them? All right, hi. I understand you guys drew in advance before I got out here.
We did, yes.
Okay.
We had a little bit of time to think about questions.
Okay.
My name's Chris.
Hi, Chris.
So despite the stock market...
I love your fashion choice.
Thank you. It's,
Looks good on you, man. Okay.
So despite the stock market doing really well, we know that a lot of Americans are struggling. What would the Warren administration do to change the way we talk about the health of our economy in a way that's more holistic and doesn't cause us to lose sight of that suffering?
Okay, it's a great question, Chris. You know, there used to be a time when there were like 2 or 3 key economic indicators. How the stock market is doing, how GDP is going, how unemployment is going. 2 of them up, 1 of them down. And that meant generally America was doing pretty well. Not everybody, but we're all kind of moving in the same direction. And then, about 4 decades ago, I don't know, like when Ronald Reagan got elected. I'm just saying. You watch, and they start to divide. So GDP keeps going up, stock market keeps going up, right? Unemployment sometimes goes down, sometimes goes up. But hardworking middle-class families, wages just flatten out. And I don't know about the rest of you, anybody's housing costs go up? Yeah. Anybody's health insurance costs go up? Oh, yeah. Cost of childcare? Yeah, cost of sending somebody or going to college, right? So the costs go up, incomes are flat, and hardworking people are just squeezed in the middle. And so you're exactly right. When we talk about our economy, right now, what we're often doing is just talking about how's it working for the richest. How's it working for the, listen, and it's working great for them. The top 1/10 of 1%, they're doing fabulously. Top 1% is doing pretty darn good, right? The problem is the 90%. It's not just the poorest, it's all of them. It's everybody on the way down. So here's how I think about this. I like to reframe this as a values question. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you your values. Show me how the federal government's budget works. Tell me where you think money should be. Do we need to leave 2 cents with the top 1/10 of 1%? Or 2 cents that we invest in every kid in this country in building a future for them? And by the way, I'll throw in a couple of quick ones because you gave me an opening to do this. And that is, because I got some other plans I just want to give a quick mention to. I've got a plan to build about 3.2 million new housing units across this country. It gives opportunity for housing to middle-class families, to working-class families, to the working poor, to the poor, to the homeless, to seniors that want to age in place, to people with disabilities so that they'll have housing opportunities. Yeah. Best independent estimate is it'll bring down rents across this country by about 10%. It's not huge, but it's the right direction to start doing it. We make that investment. And it's a place for me to say something else. Housing is a perfect example. We make a big investment in everybody because we should. Housing is America's middle-class #1 way to build wealth for each family and generation after generation. That is why the federal government for decades subsidized the purchase of housing for white people. And for black people said, not you. We will actively discriminate against African Americans who are trying to get mortgages and subsidize whites. So my housing plan is a big housing plan for everyone and then has a special section to say people who live in formerly redlined areas or who were targeted during the last housing crash that targeted people of color are going to get home buyers assistance to get back into the housing market. So those are examples. That's the basic idea. We're going to keep doing this. Thank you, Chris. Hi.
Senator Warren, how are you
Hello.
doing? Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to hear you on all of
Thank
your
you.
ideas. Thank you for the hard work.
Thank you. Tell me your name.
My name is Diego Feliciano.
It's nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I was born in Bolivia.
Uh-huh.
I moved to the United States in 2014.
Uh-huh.
With these 5 years, I saw how my community started to become scared and afraid, and how they don't participate anymore in activities regularly because of the political change that we had in 2016. My question is, as president, how will you help the Hispanic community to get back that trust and love for the country that we worked so far to be about?
So let me start by saying I'm very glad you're here. Not just tonight, but I'm glad you've been here now for 5 years. And glad you're part of our country. Let's talk a little bit about immigration, and then let's talk a little bit about respect, okay? So first, about immigration. I got a plan for that. And I just want to lay out the outlines because I want everyone to hear this. And it starts with a basic statement of our values. Immigration does not make America weaker, it makes America stronger. It makes our economy stronger, and it makes the fabric of our nation stronger. So my immigration plan has basically 3 parts to it. Part 1, we need to expand legal immigration across this country. Families have been held apart. It's not right. Trump has been shrinking legal immigration. We need to expand it. And that's also true for people who are here on temporary protected status, people who are here seeking asylum, refugees. It's every part of this. Part 2, we need a pathway to citizenship for the people who are here. Yes, the dreamers, but it doesn't stop there. It's about our dreamers, it's about grandmas, it's about little kids, it's about people who came to work agriculture, it's about people who overstayed student visas. These are our friends, these are our neighbors, these are people who contribute to our economy and the vibrancy of our country. We need a path to citizenship that is fair and achievable, and we need it now. So that's part 2. Part 3, we need to stop this Trump-made crisis at our southern border. This crisis turned into a crisis first when the Trump administration withdrew help from the countries of Central America. When people see nothing around them but destruction, when they see an economy that doesn't work, when they have a government that is not functioning, that is when people fear for their lives and have to run. We need first to restore our help to Central America, help stabilize those governments, help stabilize that economy, those economies. So that's part of it, but it's not all of it. We need to live our values. When it first came out that the Trump administration was separating children from their families, I went down to the border. I went down to McAllen, Texas, before they started locking people from Congress out. I went down, and I just briefly, because I want everyone to keep this image in your mind about what was happening, and still is. Picture an Amazon warehouse, only it's dirty, it smells bad, and it's full of cages of people. And that's what it was like. Cages of women on our left, maybe 10 feet wide, 40 feet deep, a toilet in the back corner, so crowded with people they couldn't all lie down at the same time. Cages of men. And then walk into the main area, and there they were, the freestanding cages of little girls. Another cage of little girls over there. Nothing. They had nothing. They had aluminum foil blankets, and that was it. No toys, nothing. There was a guard tower in the center, a little wooden guard tower, so one person could watch all those little girls. Back in one corner was a cage of nursing mothers. And I stopped and talked with the mothers. One mother told me she had given a drink of water to a policeman in her home country in Central America. And she said the next day the word came back that the gangs believe she's working with the police. And she knew what that meant. She and her baby would be killed. She wrapped up her baby and ran for the border. When people come to our borders frightened for their lives, frightened for the lives of their children, we are a country that welcomes them and tries to help them. That is who we are. One last small part on this. I could go on for a long time on this, but one last small part on this that I just want to add. We need to get rid of for-profit detention centers and for-profit prisons. No one should make a profit from locking people up. So, last thing I want to say about this is do understand that what's going on right now with the Trump administration, with Donald Trump himself, this is not accidental. This is strategic. Donald Trump believes that if he can turn people against people in our country, white against black and brown, straight against gay, and trans, particularly against trans, Christian against Muslim, and everybody against immigrants, particularly black and brown immigrants. He believes that if he can get that going and stir it up, that kind of hatefulness in America, that nobody will notice that he and his corrupt buddies are stealing this country blind. We're not going to fall for this. We're going to build a better America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to do this, you bet. Okay, we got one more?
Hi, Sonia Ozorek. I'm a senior at Old Dominion University.
So wait a minute, what are you majoring in?
Geography and International Studies.
Wow, cool.
I'm the vice president of the ODU Democrats, and some of us are...
Democrats! OD Democrats!
Both of my professors, the one that's recording me and one right over there.
Oh, okay.
I'm just so happy to see
Is
everyone
she
here.
getting extra credit for this?
Oh, yeah.
Good, okay, good. You're getting extra credit. I just negotiate. I know how to negotiate, right?
So I called my mom. I had no idea what I wanted to ask, but I guess...
So this is your helpline. You called Mom and said, what would you ask,
My mom is the world to me, and
Good.
I had to call her.
Okay.
So what we came up with was, what is the single most impactful event of your life that has made you the woman you are today?
You mean other than marrying Bruce? You know, that is it's a hard question. But I actually think it's the story I told you. I mean, you know, if I spent more time, maybe, I guess I think it's the story I told you about when I was 19 and I got married to the guy who'd been my first boyfriend, first guy who'd ever dated me, first guy who'd ever dumped me. It's true. And when he dropped back into my life and proposed, I said yes in a nanosecond. That was going to be my path. And I thought I'd given everything else up. And when the little glimmer was out there, that little bit that I had far on the horizon, it looked like at the time, the chance for me to finish my education so I could do the work I wanted to be able to do. It was like something opened up in me. And it was the idea that somebody somewhere had helped build that thing that gave me a chance, that let me fall off the track and get back on. And when I did, I held on for dear life. I still remember how much I sweated about the books, about the classes, about the commute. You know what that's like. But so afraid that I'd screw this up and I wouldn't be able to finish it. And by the time I graduated and I got my first job working with the little ones, for me it became a kind of pattern that things opened up in my life, and then I got a chance to reach and help somebody else out. And sometimes it was little tiny kids, later it was big kids. This is what ultimately pulled me into politics. Not in a million years did I ever think I would run for public office. I was just going to be the dork, it's true. The teacher, the researcher, man, I would feed the information over. I'd go try to talk to people. I'd tell them, here's what's broken, here's what you could do about it. I spent, 8 years saying, there's a crash coming, and nobody wanted to hear it. But what I started to figure out when I made the decision to run for public office is you can actually build structures that open up more possibilities for everybody else. It's great to do it hand over hand, but it's also great to do it big time. I have to tell you all, running for president is just an extraordinary experience for me. All right. In that case, I'm not going to get, but I am just going to say, it is extraordinary. It's extraordinary because this is the moment. This is our moment. When I first started running, people said to me, I go back to Washington, and experts, also known as senators, would say to me, hey, I saw you were out on the trails, what you're doing isn't going to work. It's too hard. People do not want to hear plans. That sounds boring, it's complicated, that is not how you run for, what you need to do, talk in generalities and smile more. It's true, that's what people told me. It's too hard. What you're asking of people is too hard. And the first time I heard that, you know what I thought? I thought, what do you think they said to the abolitionists? Right? Said, it's too hard. Right? We're not going to make that kind of change. Oh, that's way too hard. What do you think they said just a little over 100 years ago to the suffragettes? What'd they say? Too hard, give up now. What did they say to the early union organizers? Too hard, give up now. What did they say to the foot soldiers in the civil rights movement? Too hard, give up now. What were they saying a decade ago to the LGBTQ plus activists who wanted equal marriage? Right? Too hard, give up now. But here's the thing. They didn't give up. They got organized. They built a grassroots movement. They persisted. And they changed the course of American history. This is our moment. in American history. Our moment to dream big, to fight hard, and to win.
All right, everyone. I'm back. We're ready. We're going to take some selfies. Who's ready? Amazing. So folks who are on the floor and folks who are in seats right now, you can hang tight. Our ushers are going to come to you and bring you down to be part of the selfie line. But we're actually going to start the front of the selfie line over here. We're going to have some volunteers with placards who will be at the front of the line. You can see right over there, Virginia for Warren. So we're going to loop around.